everyone, Jamie and Yvette again with Legacy Home Group, and today for our Fact Friday, we are meeting with Nate Little with Hallmark Mortgage. Again, just doing all the adulting things and stuff and mortgage stuff. It's not just buying and selling a house. So he's going to tell you a little bit more about it and learn some new things. So I'll leave it to them.
Jamie, thank you. Nate, thank you for taking time to be here with us.
My pleasure. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. You know, we like sharing as much information so we can give our clients the power of knowledge. You are our in-house lender here at Remax Heritage, Kansas City. What can you tell us? What are you seeing right now? What's the big, why are people moving forward and why are people holding back?
Sure. So, well, that's a loaded question. How much time did we have? I think that it's different for different people. So I guess I would say the best thing to address would be the common misconceptions as far as what would hold people back that I don't think necessarily should hold people back, or maybe their motivations to not buy a home are maybe founded in misinformation, because there's a lot of it out there.
Yes, for sure.
You only have to spend 5 minutes on social media to see all kinds of different opinions, and everybody's got one, and a lot of them are wrong. So
that it is very true.
Yeah. So I would say the biggest thing that I come across when I'm talking to people is that right now is not a good time to buy a home.
We're hearing that a lot.
Yep. So from a financing standpoint, I hear that a lot too, just because of what interest rates have been. So in recent history, interest rates were quite a bit lower than they are right now, by about half. If you look further back, they're still lower than they were historically prior to that.
Yes.
I would say that interest rates are what they are, and it really depends on your own individual situation whether or not it's a good idea to move, or whether or not it's a good idea to be a homeowner. If you're a renter, interest rates shouldn't even factor into the conversation, honestly.
So let's tap into that just a little bit.
Sure.
This is something I tell everybody. I'm like, it's not 100%, but it's 100%. Like, you're just giving that money away. You're not building any kind of equity for yourself. And what's interesting is it's not necessarily the client, it's their parents, it's their grandparents, which I find interesting because I know what my first home was. My first house I bought in 1998, and we were at 7.375, and we were super excited.
You bought a home when you were like 10?
Yeah, I was like 10, exactly. This is why I love Nate.
That's
not
impressive.
just that he's great, for our clients. But so I tell people, like, this was my first rate. Was it the dream home? It wasn't. But it was getting our foot in the door, getting us to understand what it was like to be a homeowner. And all of that kind of stuff. So talk about rate versus renting.
So I think that's key as far as foot in the door. I think that's a really important thing that you said there, because that is the biggest struggle of our time. I would say more so than interest rates. It's home appreciation. And home appreciation is a great thing if you're a homeowner, because that asset of yours is growing in value.
Yeah.
If you're on the other side or the outside looking in, if you don't have your foot in that door, so to speak, it's working against you. And the longer that you wait, the more expensive that home is going to be. And that can become a barrier in home ownership. The more expensive that home is, the more you're going to have to come in terms of a down payment, in terms of closing costs. The more expensive it gets to get your foot in that door. So there's a definite cost to waiting. And I think that is a bigger barrier than what we're seeing in the interest rate market. I always tell people that the motivation to buy a home shouldn't necessarily be what you think rates are going to do, or what you think the housing market is going to do necessarily, which we can get into that, what we think the housing market's going to do. I think it's, do you want to be a homeowner or not? And I think that you can very easily answer that question when you consider a couple of different things. One, being a homeowner is a responsibility.
It is. Home ownership is not for everyone.
It's not. But I think that if you want to be a homeowner, if you want to fix things when they break, if you want to deal with those headaches, but if you want it to be yours, if you want to make it yours and have a place that's your own to raise your family and to make memories in, to start that journey of someday maybe being free of a housing obligation and being able to actually retire because you've paid your home off, or growing that asset and being able to put that home equity to work for you when certain things come up. there is definitely a pro and a con to being a homeowner. The other part is, how long are you going to be where you are?
Right.
If you're only going to be in the area for a couple years, it probably doesn't make sense to pay the expense that it does cost to get into a home. But if you're going to be there for 3 to 5 years, then you're going to get that money back and then some.
Right.
So if you think of it in terms of an investment, but you also think of it in terms of motivation of, do you want to be a homeowner or not be a homeowner? I think that those are the more important questions than what are interest rates, what are they going to do, what's the housing market going to do. And really, there's only been one time in history where the housing market has crashed, and it's the one that everybody remembers because it wasn't that far in history.
Yeah.
This is a completely opposite situation here. We have too much demand and not enough supply in the current market. When that happened, we had too much supply and not enough demand. It could not be more opposite right now. And so appreciation is going to continue. If you continue to wait, that same home that you look at this year, if you look at it next year, it's only going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
And so I would just simplify the decision and put the numbers aside. Obviously, there's budget considerations to be had, and you can see what the numbers are on that and get with your loan officer to look at those numbers. But I think the bigger question is, do you want to be a homeowner or do you not want to be a homeowner? And in your current situation, does it make sense to buy a home or not buy a home based on how long you're going to be there?
Yeah, so one of the things that I say to them is I say, the market doesn't matter. It's where are you? Where's your mindset? Are you financially in a place that you can make that purchase? Because the rates could be, let's just say they're 7% today, and in 6 months or a year or 2 years, maybe they're at 6% and you get to refinance, but you're in that house now, you're building that equity right now, instead of, especially for my people who are paying rent. Like, I'm like, you're paying $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, $1,500 of somebody else's mortgage. I mean, that, whether if it's an apartment complex, if it's a single family residence, whatever it is, you are paying somebody else's mortgage off, and you are getting literally 0% back.
And rents aren't fixed. It's not.
No control.
It's not like you have the safety and security of knowing what you pay right now is what you're going to pay in rent, and that expense is never going to go up. We've seen rents in our area skyrocket here in the last 2 or 3 years. So I don't think that rent is necessarily a good protection against budget concerns either. I would say owning a home, while that also doesn't fix your housing obligation because taxes and insurance change over time, it's as close as you can get to fixing that housing obligation. I can tell you that we bought our house 12 years ago, and if I look at how rents have changed over that same period of time in our area to how much my mortgage payment has changed just because my taxes and my insurance have gone up, it's no question. It's a no-brainer.
It's this much with the taxes and insurance. It's this much at least with the rents.
Right.
I have at least 3 clients. Their rent, they called me, and their rents went up 25%.
That's wild.
That's a lot of money.
That is.
You're talking. I mean, I'm talking people that one of them, their rent was $750. He went up to $1,025. Another one, they were at $1,250, and they went up to like almost $1,700.
Right.
And that's a lot of money.
It is.
You know, if your taxes and your insurance go up, you know, there's certain things you can do sometimes to fight the taxes if you need to, when it makes sense. But even when they do go up, it's typically not going to be 25%. Like,
Right.
I've not seen that in my history of being in this business since
Absolutely.
since I bought my house and got in this business all at the same time. So since 1998.
Yep.
So I'm just telling people, like, let's sit down with a lender.
Yeah.
Let's look at the numbers. Does it make sense for you to make this commitment? Because it is a commitment being a homeowner, for sure. To me, I'm always going to say probably 90% of the time it's going to make sense. There's a 10% that they just don't want those obligations of taking care of things. And even some of them, I tell them, let's look at condos.
Yeah.
Let's look at some properties that you don't have to worry about the exterior. You just have a home that you're going to still gain equity in.
Absolutely.
Is there anything that, if you were going to share one tidbit with somebody today about the market that they're teeter-tottering, do I buy, don't I buy? They're in a position to buy. So let's just say we know they're in a position to buy, but they're worried about the rates, or their parents or somebody's telling them, I don't know that you should make the decision right now. The market's going to crash.
Yep. So I
That's
would
what they're
say,
saying, not me.
although I am a pretty scary looking guy, don't be afraid of me. And that goes for any loan officer. Don't be scared to have the conversation. A lot of people surprisingly think that it actually costs money to talk to me up front.
Interesting.
That they have to pay some sort of a fee to get pre-approved, or even just to talk about numbers. That's not the case, at least as far as I'm concerned. I've not heard of what loan officers out there are charging up front. I don't know if it exists or not, but I think that the biggest thing is just don't be afraid. If it's a dream of yours, if it's something that you're interested in, or even if you're just trying to decide whether or not it's for you, have a conversation with an agent that you can trust. Get a recommendation from that agent for a loan officer that they trust, who's
That's
going
local.
to be who's going to be straightforward and honest with you and give you information to make that decision without pressuring you one way or another to try to decide what's best for you in your situation. But don't be afraid to take that first step and have that conversation to figure out exactly what the information is so that you can make an informed decision.
That is great advice. It really is.
Because that's what matters the most. Get the information that you need to make that decision rather than being afraid to get that information because maybe you're afraid what that information will tell you. It's better to know and rule it out versus not know and rule it out, I would say.
Knowledge is power.
Don't be afraid of that. So find people that you can trust, that you can sit down with to paint the picture for you, and then from there, it's just going to be up to you. It's a personal choice. What works best for you, what's best for you and for your family, or for your financial needs, for your financial picture at that time. And I always tell people, even if you're not in a situation where I need you to be necessarily, let's put a plan together to get you there.
Yeah.
It's better that we start working now so that you're ready a year from now versus waiting until you're ready a year from now to find out then that you actually should have been working on something, and now we have to start from there.
So, and Nate and I have done that. We had a client and they worked on it for a year. They put a plan together and they worked on it for a year, and they are homeowners now, and they were so proud of themselves that they did the steps, they got where they needed to be, and now they have their own home, and it's the first home that they've ever owned. They are in their early 30s probably, and it was a big deal for them, not just for them, but also for their son.
Yeah.
They wanted him to see what can happen if you put some work in and you have trusted advisors to go to that will work with you through your timeline. Sometimes the timeline is 30-45 days, and sometimes it's a year and a half, but we are here to do that for them. We will help guide them and get them where they need to be.
But the key was they took that first step.
Yeah.
They started the conversation, and usually that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, we have to wrap up, but Nate, tell us something about yourself, your family. You know, we love working with your clients too, and I like them to see that personal side.
Yeah, I mean, I live in Kansas City. I am not a native. I moved here about 12 years ago, but I have a wife. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I love living here. I've lived in a few different places, and I like Kansas City. I like its size. I like the friendly people. You know, I love coming to work in this office every day and getting to work with agents like you to partner to help people into those homes or help people figure out those situations. You know, I'm a Jayhawk. I hope that doesn't scare off too many people. But I'm a passionate sports fan. So I love the proximity to Lawrence and being able to get back there.
Yeah.
And my daughter is just starting to figure that out too, so she's pretty excited. Other than that, you know, we like to do things together. We like to spend time together. We like to go to the movies. We like to go on walks in the city. We'll drive down and park the car downtown and take our dogs for a walk downtown. So yeah, I mean, you probably might run into me outside of the office. If you're out and about much, you might even see me. But I am a local. I'm here. I'm in the community, and I enjoy being part of it. So.
I forgot about that. You and I both are not natives, because I'm also not from here. My husband is what brought me to the city, and we both also love sports.
Yep.
And anybody who knows me knows I love sports. So again, thank you, Nate, for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the help you give to our clients and taking time to do this with us so we can share more knowledge for everybody out there. Give Nate a call. He can help you get on the path of homeownership.
Thank you.
Thank you.